Good morning. So today we are moving on to chapter 11, and the first section is solving proportions. So I feel like this first part is going to be pretty straightforward, definitely a review. On the bottom it gets a little bit more difficult and we start going into more algebra, but hopefully this first part you remember pretty clearly. So a proportion is an equation that states two ratios are equal. So cross products is a way to solve it. So you're probably used to seeing A over B equals C over D. So two ratios that are equal. Cross products means exactly what it sounds like. Or you think maybe the butterfly method is how you learned it. But you're basically saying that A times D equals B times C, which you don't really need the multiplication signs in there. AD equals BC. So this is how you're going to solve, because obviously with the problems down here, there's only one variable. So most of these will be numbers. So let's get to it. So we have 5 over 8 equals 3 over y. So we're going to swoop it around, and we get 5 times y equals 8 times 3, or 3 times 8, however you want to kind of go about writing it. It really doesn't matter what the order is here. So you get 5y equals 24, divide by 5, divide by 5, y equals 24 over 5. I am very sorry that your first one was not a whole number, but I promise you will survive. So the same thing goes for the next one. You multiply 60 times 2. Now this one, I'm going to write this one first, just to show you can do both ways. Equals 5 times x, which is 120, equals 5x, divide by 5, divide by 5, and 120 divided by 5 is 24, equals x. So whether your variable's on your left side or the variable's on the right side, it does not matter. So the last one, maybe you can pause and try on your own. We have 6 over x equals 3 over 9. I'll put the variable back on the left. I think some of you, it might just be easier if you put it on the left rather than the right. So 3 times x equals 6 times 9, which is 3x, equals 54. Now, mind you, you can just jump into this second step. You don't have to write this out. I'm writing it out so that it's very easy for you to see where I'm getting all of this from. And 54 divided by 3, x equals 18. So like I said, this should be a review as far as solving for a specific variable. Where the algebra part comes in is if you're solving with more than one variable. So all of these, well, this doesn't technically have more than one variable, but we'll get there. And then these have two expressions. So they change it up a little bit. Process of solving is still going to be the same though. So we have n times n. Some of you are going to try and write 2n. No. N times n is n squared. And 25 times 4, n squared equals 100. Now you should remember this from, I think, section 9.2. I know some of you are like, what are you talking about? So for this, it's solving a square root equation. Remember, when solving a square root equation, you take the square root of both sides. You should be happy because 100 is a perfect square. So n equals plus or minus 10. I'm going to write you a little reminder down there. Remember, square root equations have two answers. Two answers. Positive 10 and negative 10. All right, so let's look at the next one. So we're going to multiply and make sure you put your parentheses. 2 times x plus 1 equals 5 times 4, which is 20. You distribute the 2 to whatever's in the parentheses. and this should remind you of a two-step equation. So you subtract 2 from both sides. You get 2x equals 18. Divide by 2, and x equals 9. So a little bit different from example 1, but all of these, once you get to this step, are different ways that you've solved this year. So your little hint here, solve like a two-step equation. All right, so the last one's definitely the trickiest, I think, for most of you, because you are left with two expressions on the top and the bottom. So you have 2 parentheses x plus 6 equals 3 parentheses x minus 5. So now you're distributing on both sides of the equal sign. You have variables on both sides of the equal sign. So you're left with 2x plus 12 equals 3x minus 15. Remember, when you have variables on both sides, your goal is to get the variable on one side and the coefficient on the other. So I usually bring it to the left just because I think it's easier sometimes for you to solve. This does give me a negative, so if you want to subtract 2 and bring it to that side, I'm cool with that. Gives you negative x plus 12 equals negative 15. And then you subtract 12, negative x equals negative 27. Can you leave it like that? Nope. Divide by negative 1, x equals positive 27. So your hint for this one is going to be variables on one side, constants on the other. So that's today's lesson. Good luck.